Okay, guys, hi. I haven't seen you in forever. You haven't seen me. I don't really enjoy making movies of myself, but here we go. We're going to go over Vérité, Mensonge, which you guys read. I think it'll be a whole lot easier to go over it in video instead of writing a whole big, long, boring thing that you guys have to read. So, here we go. The first thing that I'm going to go over with you is the vocabulary. Um, so if you follow along with me, ne avantage, not at all. Au milieu, in the middle of. Atteindre, to attain or to get to. La propreté, cleanliness. Tiède, tepid. Une autruche, an ostrich. S'étendre, to stretch out. Let's see, le crépuscule, twilight. Une grande colère, a huge anger. Ces hôtes inconnus qu'il n'avait pu honorer. This is a whole expression related to African culture, whereas you are expected to have food and drink available to any passersby who stopped by your home. And if you are unable to honor them, if you're unable to feed them in their time of need, then it's a great dishonor on your family. You are somehow a horrible person that you were unable to be a good host. Ménagère, housekeeper. Convenu, suitable or fitting. Se taire, to keep quiet. Amuter, to spread around or to alert. Retourner sur l'heure chez ses parents. Once again, this is another African culture thing where a woman can simply divorce her husband by saying that she's going to return to her parents' home. And sur l'heure means on the hour, immediately. Débiter, to tear apart. Abattre, to slaughter. The next one, Ndiaye. My pronunciation of African is really bad. Ndiaye is their version of Adam. It's the mythical, maybe mythical, first man who started the whole Wolof tribe. Kourou, rage. Se désaltérer, to quench their thirst. Ressusciter, to resuscitate. Un vieillard, an old man. Le lendemain, the next day. Copieux, copious, or if you don't know that English word, ample. Feigner, to pretend. La moitié, the majority. Les biens, goods or an estate. Au-dessus, above. Muni, equipped with. Une houe, a hoe. Ahane, to grunt with effort, like when you're digging a hole. S'adosser, to lean against. Creuser, to dig. Tandis que, whereas. Bouscler, shoved over. Les aïeux, ancestors. Gâter, to spoil, or in this case, for a situation to spoil or get ruined. Défunte, deceased. En chœur, in chorus or all together. And pareillement, as well as. Okay, so now to our story. So here with Vérité, Mensonge, I love this story a lot. It is basically talking about human nature. We have truth and falsehood are personified in the story. So fen, le mensonge, mensonge is falsehood and it's a masculine word. So the character fen is male and la vérité is feminine. So we have Doug is a feminine name, Doug la vérité. So a man and a woman are traveling together. And at the beginning, it talks about Fen le Mensonge had grown up and learned a great deal of things. And one of the things that bothered him most of all was se considérait-il comme sacrifié chaque fois qu'il entendait dire le bon Dieu aime la vérité. So he considered himself to be sacrificed every time he heard someone say that God loves truth, and he heard it a lot. And others said that certainly nothing was as dissimilar as truth and falsehood. And so when they were traveling together, right, voilà pourquoi le jour où ils partirent en voyage avec de la vérité, font le mensonge, dit à sa compagne de route, c'est toi que le Dieu aime, c'est toi que les gens préfèrent sans doute, c'est donc à toi de parler partout où nous nous présenterons. So they decide that they will be poorly received if Fen does most of the talking. I think he's kind of doing a little experiment here, but they've decided that Truth is going to be the person who's going to do the talking for them on their trip, so that they're not ill-received wherever they go. Okay, et ils partent de bon matin et marchèrent longtemps. Au milieu du jour, ils entrèrent dans la première maison du village qu'ils atteignent. So they leave in the morning, they walked a long time, and in the middle of the day, they entered the first house of the village that they got to. And they had to ask for a drink after they had said hello to the hostess. And so, dans la calebasse dont la propriété n'était pas du plus certaine, la maîtresse de maison leur donna de l'eau tiède à faire vomir une autruche. So, in a carafe of which the cleanliness wasn't very certain, the mistress of the house gave them tepid water that was warm enough to make an ostrich vomit. So I guess that was pretty disgusting water. I've never seen an ostrich vomit before. And to eat, there was no question, because there was a pot full of rice that was boiling in the entrance of the home. And so they stretched out in the shadow of a baobab tree in the middle of the courtyard, and waited for luck and the return of the master of the home. It would have been inappropriate for them to enter the home without the master there, the man of the house. And then celui-ci arriva au crépuscule. So this one here, the master of the home, arrived at twilight and asked for something to eat for himself and for the strangers. And the wife responds, Je n'ai encore rien de prêt. I have nothing ready yet. Because what had happened, she had eaten the entire pot of rice all by herself. Le mari entra dans une grande colère, non pas tant pour lui, qui cependant avait grand faim, ayant travaillé la journée durant au grand soleil des champs, mais à cause de ces hôtes inconnus qu'il n'avait pu honorer. So the husband enters into this great anger. He's really, really angry, not just for him, but because not just for him, who had worked all day under the hot sun in the fields, but he was also embarrassed. He was unable to provide food for these passers-by, and so it was a great embarrassment. It was a great dishonor. And so he asks, Est-ce là le fait d'une bonne épouse? Est-ce là le fait d'une femme généreuse? Est-ce là une bonne ménagère? So is this a good spouse? Is this the act of a generous woman? Is this a good housekeeper? And of course, Fen le mensonge, prudent et comme convenu, ne dit pas un mot. So Fen, who is falsehood, he was wise, and it was fitting at the time because the husband and wife were arguing. He said not a single word. But Doug couldn't keep her mouth shut. And she said sincerely that a woman dignified of the name of mistress of the home should have been more careful and had been aware that of strangers who could have come, and always should have something prepared for the return of her spouse. Of course, the woman was embarrassed and she gets angry and she threatens to tell the whole village and that she's going to go back to her parents. Um, so the husband, he decides that a bad wife is better than no wife at all and he wasn't about to lose her over two strangers, two passersby that he had never seen and probably will never again see in his life. So what does he do? He does the only thing that he sees logical and fitting and sends them out on their ears. Fen and Doug continued their trip, having been knocked out of one house, and they've decided that their trip has gone badly, but that, good times were probably coming soon. And so they arrived in a village, and at the entrance of which they find some children who are busy tearing up a very fat bull that they had just slaughtered. Yummy. So, in entering the house of the chief of the village, the head of the village, they saw some of the kids who are tearing apart this slaughtered bull come in and say, "Voici la part en lui présentant la tête et les pieds de l'animal." So they say, "Here's your part," and the kids present to the chief of the village, the head of the village, the head and the feet of the animal. Now, this is a huge, huge deal, and the reason is because the children, it explains right here, depuis toujours, depuis Nidiadian Nidier, dans tous les villages habités par les hommes, c'est le chef qui donne ou qui fait donner à chacun sa part et qui choisit la sienne la meilleure. So in this, what we're seeing is another piece of African culture where, since the beginning of time, is what they're saying, in all of the villages, the chief is the one who gives each person their portion and who also chooses his own, which is the best piece. Now, obviously, the head and the feet of the bull are not the best piece. So the chief, ignoring the children, says to Fen and Doug, "What do you think of qui pensez-vous donc qui commande dans ce village?" Who do you therefore think commands in this village? Fen, who is smart enough, he keeps his silence and doesn't open his mouth, but Doug, who is truth and can't keep quiet, has to give her opinion, and she says, "Well, in all appearances, it's the children." So this old man, in a rage, en courroux, says in a rage, "You're insolent. Leave this village. Leave right away, and never come back." So the unhappy travelers continue their path, and on their way, Fen, falsehood, says to Doug, truth, "Well, our results haven't exactly been brilliant up until now, and I know that it'll be better if I continue. I don't think it'll be better if I continue to let you for very much longer take care of our business. So from now on, I'm going to take care of us. I'm starting to think that if you are actually pleasing to God, that people don't really appreciate you." So here we start part 2. This was all part 1. Part 2, they come to another village where there are some crying and there's some lamenting. They stop outside a well to quench their thirst, and they see a woman who's completely in tears. And Doug, Truth, says, why these cries and these tears? And the woman, who was a slave, she cries and tells them that their queen, the favorite wife of the king, the youngest and the most favorite, died yesterday. And the king is in so much grief and pain that he wants to kill himself in order to rejoin her, because she was the most likable, the most beautiful, and his favorite of all of his wives. So since Fen has said that he will now take care of them, he says, "Oh, well, is this all that you're crying about? Go tell your king that at the well is a stranger who can resuscitate people who are dead, even if it's been for a long time." The slave goes and then returns, accompanied by an old man who leads the travelers to a beautiful home, where they find an entire roasted sheep and two full containers of couscous. And the old man addresses them in a very respectful way, calling him master, and he says that you can stay here. My master says that he sends you here and that you can stay here for your long trip, and that he will call you soon. So the next day, they bring the travelers an even more luxurious meal than, and then the next day, the same thing. And so they keep bringing them better and better food. They keep accommodating their needs, and they've been treated very, very well instead of starving and kicked out of houses. But Fen knows better. He knows that there's more to be done here. And so he pretends to be angry and impatient. And he tells to the messengers, "Go tell your king that I no longer have time to waste here. And I'm going to take my path back up if he has no need for me." So, of course, the old man returns and he says that the king is asking for him. So Fen goes with the old man, the messenger, leaving Truth in the room, which I think we can all agree that that was a pretty wise move. And so the king asks Fen what he wants as a prize for what he can do, and Fen says, "What can you offer me?" And the king first offers him, he says, "I will give you 100 things of everything that I possess in my country." And Fen says that's not good enough. And so then the king says, "Well, then tell me what you want." And he says, "I want half." La moitié is a little bit more than half, but the half of all of your estate, all of your goods. And the king accepts. So now it's getting a little bit more interesting. We're in part 3. And so Fen has a room built over top of the tomb of this queen who has just died. And so he enters alone, equipped with a hoe, and from the outside, nobody can see what's going on, but from the outside, one can hear a lot of breathing and a lot of grunting from great effort. And after a long time, they hear some talking, at first very softly, then some loud voices, then it sounds like there's some arguing going on. And so then Fen comes out and he's leaning against the door. And he says, "Houston, we have a problem. Some things have become complicated because why? Well, Fen says that he dug into the tomb. He woke up the wife, and he was just about to bring her back to life when the king's father woke up also seized her by the feet and said, "Leave this woman. What can she give you? Whereas if I return to the world, I will give you the entire fortune of my son." And then he hadn't finished when the father of the father did the same. He said, "If you bring me back, I'll offer you all of my son's fortune," and so on and so forth. So then there's this whole chain of ancestors who are all clinging to the previous person's foot, promising an even richer reward if Fen were to bring them back to life. And so there's a lot of pushing. Bouscler is to shove out of the way. So there's all this pushing and shoving and arguing. And so basically, Fen is telling the king that this is what the problem has become. So Boer, great name for a king, Boer, looks at his advisors, and the notables look at the king. And the stranger, he knew that that the whole deal was starting to spoil. Things were starting to go badly. And so Boer looks at Fen, and Fen says, "Tell me which one." He's like, "I'll make it very easy for you. I'll just give you a choice. Your wife or your father, which one do you want me to bring back?" And so the king says, "Well, my wife, of course, because I never loved anyone more than her." And it says, qui avait toujours eu peur du roi défunt dont il avait aidé des notables, précipiter la mort. Meaning, he precipitated his own father's death. So his father is dead because he caused his death so that he could ascend to the throne. So if Fen were to bring back his father being dead, probably knows the reason for his death, and so that would cause great problems for him. And so, falsehood, Fen says, "Well, yeah, evidently, but here's the thing, your father offered me double of what you promised me just a little while ago." So, the king looks at his advisors. They know they don't want to bring the old king back. But falsehood said, "Well, you know what? Your father promised me your entire fortune. If I bring him back, if I listen to you, I only get half." So then Fen says, "Well, you know what? I'm going to make you a deal. At least if you give me what you promised me for bringing her back, if you give that to me for just leaving her in the grave and leaving her dead, I'll be happy. I won't bring the king back. I'll leave your wife where she is, and you give me half of your fortune as a payoff for leaving your father in the land of the dead." And so the king and the notables in chorus were very happy with this arrangement. And and so he says, yes, fine. So that my father, the father of my father, the fathers of their fathers stay where they are, and my wife as well, I'll give you half of my fortune. And at the very end, and this is how Fen le Mensonge, for having brought no one back from the other world, earned the half of the fortune of a king who quite soon, very quickly, forgot his favorite and took another wife. So, he's falsehood, right? He completely lied, and because the king bought it, they were well received, they were well fed, and he left the kingdom with half of the king's fortune. So the lesson of the story, of course, is everybody thinks that they love the truth, they think they want to hear the truth, But in the end, human nature trumps it all. People really just want to hear what they want to hear, and that's how he tricked a king into giving him most of his wealth. Okay, so you can probably imagine that's why I love this story. Our quiz on, you're going to have two quizzes. One will be on Les Mamelles, which we went over, it seems like ages ago when we were together. You should still have the vocabulary for that. You should have your packet for that. If you look on Google Classroom, I gave you the exact specific vocabulary words that I'm going to ask you on that quiz. There'll be two separate quizzes. I felt it would be too much to put both stories on one quiz, so therefore tomorrow on eDoctrina, you will have tomorrow, meaning Friday for you. You will have one quiz about Les Mamelles, vocab and comprehension questions. It'll be 20 questions, 5 points per question. And then there will be 2 bonus. And then you will have a similar quiz for Vérité et Mensonge. You'll have vocabulary questions, comprehension questions. The vocab is posted on Google Classroom. And you'll have 2 bonus and 10 comprehension questions from that. Super, super quick, because this video is getting a little long and I'm supposed to stay under 40 minutes with you guys. If you are missing your summaries for Les Mamelles and you want me to go over that with you, I'm just going to go super quick here. And if you have further questions, you can message me today, so that way you have that information. The vocab is on the sheet, and so you can either word reference it and or message me for clarification. But super quickly, Les Mamelles was the one with Amadou Koumba, and Momar. Momar was the husband who had this weird thing about hunchback women, right? And he married Kiri, who had a little hunchback, and she was pretty sour about it her whole life. Kids used to make fun of her, and as she got older, she didn't really mature and get over it. She just got worse. Momar decided that because Kiri never left the home in order to help him with the work or go do the laundry or anything like that, she did very little, that he needed another wife. So he married Koumba. Koumba was sweet and gentle and nice, and she had an even huger hunchback than Kiri. Because Koumba was a nice person, she would go and help Momar in the fields. One day, the ancestors, the fairies in the tamarind tree, decided that she was of good character and they would help her out. They told her how to go get rid of her hunchback. So on the Monday of the full moon, she had to go up to the granite hill, and when the filles génies, the fairies, were dancing, she had to join into the fray of the dancing. And when the drum was at its fullest and the women were dancing the most frenzied, she would turn to the one next to her and say, "Tiens, prends le bébé de mon dos, c'est à mon tour de danser." Right here, take the baby off my back, it's my turn to dance. The filles génies took the hunch off of Koumba's back. She returned home, beautiful and normal, and Momar thought she was great. Kiri fainted because she was so upset. And then Koumba, being such a nice person, said, "Oh, I know how you can get rid of it too." Not thinking that the génie had done her, the ancestors had done her a favor because she was such a good person, that they weren't going to do the same thing for Kiri. So sorry for that glitch there, I don't know what happened. So she told Kiri what to do. Kiri went up to the hills, she did the same thing, but unfortunately for poor Kiri, the filles génies said, "Oh, no, 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 here, take the baby off my back. that's been entrusted to me for a whole month now and no one's come to reclaim it. She placed Koumba's humongous hunchback on Kiri, and then everything disappeared. And so then Kiri, who had always been bothered by her little hunchback before, now had two, one ginormous one and one little one, so it was kind of weird and lopsided. She went crazy, she screamed, she cried, she ran all the way to the sea. She jumped into the sea to drown herself, and because she was so sour, the sea wouldn't refuse to swallow her up, and so the two humps sticking out of the water in Senegal that are a landmass called Les Mamelles are that's supposedly how they got there. That the sea would refused to swallow Kiri up, and so her two hunchbacks were sticking out of the water. Okay, so I feel like I need to be like a YouTuber and be like, hey y'all, thanks for watching my video. Make sure you just subscribe. I am not a fan of recording myself, so I don't know. I hope you enjoyed it, or at least got a few laughs, or oh hey, Madame still looks kind of weird. Hopefully you're doing great with your quarantine. We'll make the best of this. It is what it is. If you need anything, don't hesitate to message me, and I'm here for you. So I miss you guys. I hope we get to see each other in May. Hang in there, especially my Seal by Literacy peeps. I got you. Just, hang in there. Message me day or night, anything that you need. I'm here for you guys, okay? So, I'm going to stop this video now. I'm going to stop rambling, which you guys know is what I do best. And I'll see you soon, I hope.